You probably park your car in a garage, but John Travolta parks a massive commercial airliner in his front yard. This is not a joke. The Hollywood legend lives inside a private airport in Florida where he can fly a Boeing 737 to dinner. But inside this $250 million life is a story of heartbreaking tragedy and a secret new movie that changes everything. We are taking you past the security gates to see the real life of the captain of cool. To understand the life of John Travolta, you have to look at the ground beneath his feet. Most celebrities live in Beverly Hills with high fences and swimming pools. John Travolta lives in an airport. It is called Jumbolair Aviation Estates. Before the jets arrived, this land had a very different story. Way back in the day, this place was owned by a woman named Muriel Vanderbilt. She was part of the super-rich Vanderbilt family who built railroads across America. She used this land for gorgeous thoroughbred horses. It was quiet and fancy and full of high society people. But in 1980, things got loud. A man named Arthur Jones bought the place. Arthur was a genius inventor who created the Nautilus gym equipment. He was also a little bit wild. He did not just want horses. He wanted airplanes and wild animals. Arthur Jones brought in 63 baby elephants from Africa to roam around the property in Ocala, Florida. Can you imagine seeing a herd of elephants right next to a cow pasture? To move these big animals and his big business around, Arthur paved a massive runway. It was a serious piece of engineering. That runway is the most important thing in John Travolta's life today. It is 7,550 feet long. That is longer than the runways at many city airports. It is built with thick reinforced asphalt. Why does it need to be so strong? Because it has to hold up a Boeing 737 that weighs over 100,000 pounds. John Travolta and his late wife Kelly Preston bought their land here in 2001. They paid about $3.5 million for it. They did not want a normal mansion. They wanted a house that looked like an airport terminal from the 1950s. When you look at the house, you see concrete and glass. It has big curved walls. It looks like the famous TWA terminal at the JFK airport in New York. The windows in the great room are huge. They go from the floor to the ceiling, but they do not look out at a rose garden. They look right at the jets. If you are sitting on John's sofa, you are staring at the nose of a massive airplane parked just a few feet away. The curtains in that room are a special shade of blue. It is not just any blue. It is the exact color used by Qantas Airlines. John has been an ambassador for the Australian airline for over 20 years, and he loves their style. Inside the house, there is a room that is more important than the bedroom. It is the kitchen. It is designed to feed a lot of people fast. When you fly big planes, you have a flight crew. You have pilots and engineers. John needs to feed them all before a long flight to Paris or London. The kitchen has big industrial stoves and a walk-in refrigerator. But the coolest room is his office. It is called the control tower. It is upstairs, and it has a view of the whole runway. John can sit there and watch planes take off and land. He can check the weather and file his flight plans. It is like his own command center. But you might be wondering how a kid from New Jersey ended up owning his own airport. John Travolta was not born rich. He was born in 1954 in Englewood, New Jersey. He was the youngest of 6 children. His father, Sam, sold tires. His mother, Helen, was the one who changed his life. Helen was a drama teacher and an actress. She loved the theater. In their house, the basement was not for storage. It was a stage. Every day, the Travolta kids would put on shows. They would sing and dance and act for their neighbors. Helen taught them everything she knew. John loved airplanes. Even then, he would sit in his backyard and watch the planes fly over from LaGuardia Airport. He bought airline timetables instead of comic books. He memorized the flight paths. He dreamed that one day he would be the one in the cockpit. When he was 16 years old, he made a huge decision. He dropped out of high school. He moved to New York City to become an actor. It was a big risk, but John had a lot of confidence. He got some small roles in commercials. Then he got his big break. In 1975, he was cast in a TV show called Welcome Back, Kotter. He played a character named Vinnie Barbarino. Vinnie was a cool kid with great hair who was not very smart. The show was a massive hit. Suddenly, John Travolta was famous. Teenagers all over America had his poster on their walls. But being a TV star was not enough. John wanted to be a movie star. In 1977, John got the role that made him a legend. The movie was Saturday Night Fever. He played Tony Manero. Tony was a kid who worked in a paint store but became a king on the disco dance floor. John trained for months. He ran miles every day. He danced for 3 hours every day. He wanted to be perfect. And when the movie came out, he was perfect. The white suit he wore became iconic. The Bee Gees' music became the soundtrack of the decade. But while the whole world was cheering for him, John was crying in his trailer. During the filming of Saturday Night Fever, John fell in love. Her name was Diana Hyland. She was an actress who played his mother in a TV movie called The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. She was 18 years older than him, but they were deeply in love. But Diana got sick. She had breast cancer. John left the set of Saturday Night Fever to fly to Los Angeles to be with her. He held her hand when she died. She was only 41 years old. John was devastated. He had to go back to New York to finish filming the movie. He had to put on his white suit and dance while his heart was broken. People on the set said he would cry between takes, but when the director said action, he would dry his tears and become the disco king. It was the first time he showed the world how strong he really was. After Saturday Night Fever and Grease, John was the biggest star on the planet. But in the 1980s, things went wrong. He made some bad choices. He turned down movies that became huge hits like American Gigolo and An Officer and a Gentleman. The movies he did make like Perfect and Two of a Kind flopped. Critics said his career was over. They said he was a one-hit wonder. But even when his career was down, his life was about to get better. In 1987, he was cast in a comedy called The Experts. The movie was not very good. It lost a lot of money, but John did not care because on that set, he met Kelly Preston. Kelly was beautiful and funny. She was married to someone else at the time, but she was not happy. John saw her walking across the set, and he knew. He told his friends that he was going to marry her. One day, they were at a party for the cast. There was a dance floor. John asked Kelly to dance. Kelly said she was nervous. She knew he was a great dancer, but John took her hand and spun her around. Kelly later said that he was a great leader. She fell in love with him right there on the dance floor. They got married in 1991. They planned a big wedding in New York, but the paparazzi got out of control, so they ran away to Paris and got married in a quiet ceremony. They were ready to start a life together. But John still needed to fix his career. By 1994, John Travolta was considered washed up. He was doing talking baby movies like Look Who's Talking. He was not a serious actor anymore. Then he got a call from a young director named Quentin Tarantino. Quentin was a huge fan of John. He invited John to his apartment in Los Angeles to talk about a new movie called Pulp Fiction. When John got to the apartment, he noticed something funny. It was the exact same apartment John used to live in when he was a struggling actor in the 1970s. It felt like destiny. They did not just read lines from a script. They played board games. Quentin pulled out old board games based on John's old movies and TV shows like Welcome Back, Kotter and Grease. They sat on the floor and played games all night. John realized that Quentin really believed in him. Quentin offered him the role of Vincent Vega. It was a dark role. Vincent was a hitman and a heroin addict. The studio did not want John. They wanted a big action star. But Quentin fought for him. John took a massive pay cut. He accepted only $150,000 to do the movie. That is less money than he made for a commercial. But it was the best decision of his life. Pulp Fiction was a masterpiece. John was cool again. He was dangerous and funny, and he danced in the movie, too. He got nominated for an Academy Award. Suddenly, everyone wanted to hire him again. After Pulp Fiction, John's salary skyrocketed. He went from making peanuts to making fortunes. In 1996, he made $12 million for the movie Michael. In 1997, he made $20 million for Face/Off. He made another $20 million for A Civil Action and $20 million more for The General's Daughter. In just a few years, he made over $100 million. He was one of the highest-paid actors in the world. He used that money to build his dream life. He used it to buy the land in Jumbolair and build his airport mansion. Now let us go back to that driveway in Florida. John did not just buy one plane. He bought a whole fleet. For a long time his pride and joy was a Boeing 707. He named it Jett Clipper Ella after his kids. It was an old Qantas plane from 1964. It was loud and smoky and beautiful. John spent millions of dollars fixing it up. He put bedrooms and a dining room inside. But keeping a 60-year-old plane flying is very hard. In 2017, John did something amazing. He donated the plane to a museum in Australia called HARS. He wanted it to be safe and preserved forever. So what does he fly now? His main ride is a Boeing 737. You have probably flown on a 737 to go on vacation. It usually has about 140 cramped seats. John's 737 is different. It is registered as N327JT. It was built in 1988. He took out all the rows of seats. Inside, it is like a flying apartment. It has a master bedroom with a big bed and a full bathroom with a shower. It has a dining room with a nice table. It has big leather recliners in the living area. In 2024, flight records show this plane flew about 9 times. That might not sound like a lot, but these were big trips. It burned over 18,000 gallons of fuel. That cost him more than $100,000 just for gas. But John does not just have the big Boeing. He also has a Falcon 900. This is a fast corporate jet with 3 engines. It can fly all the way across the ocean without stopping. It is perfect for when he needs to get to Europe quickly. And he has a little jet called the Eclipse 500. This is like a sports car for the sky. It is tiny and fast, and he can fly it by himself for short trips around Florida. But the biggest news happened just recently in late 2024. John bought a legend. He bought a Lockheed Super Constellation. Have you ever seen a plane with 3 tails in the back and a shape like a dolphin? That is the Connie. It is from the 1950s. It has 4 massive propellers. People say it is the most beautiful plane ever built. This specific plane was stuck at a museum in Kansas City. It had not flown in 20 years. John's company bought it in January 2025. His team of mechanics did something incredible. They started the engines. All 4 of them roared to life. Smoke and fire came out of the exhaust pipes. The plane taxied around the airport under its own power. John wants to fix it up and fly it all the way home to Florida. It is a huge project, but he is saving a piece of history. John is not just a rich guy who sits in the back and drinks champagne. He is the pilot. He sits in the front. He has the highest license you can get called an ATP certificate. He is rated to fly the Boeing 747 and the 707 and the 737. But flying is not always safe. In 1992, John almost died. It was Thanksgiving Day. He was flying his family in a Gulfstream jet. It was night and the weather was bad. Suddenly, everything went dark. The electrical system in the plane failed completely. He lost his radio. He lost his lights. He lost his navigation instruments. He was flying blind in the clouds with his wife and baby son on board. He thought it was over. He thought they were going to crash. But then a miracle happened. He saw a break in the clouds. Through that hole, he saw the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. He knew where he was. He used the monument to find the airport and made an emergency landing. That scary moment stayed with him forever. In 2023, he made a movie called The Shepherd. It is about a pilot who gets lost in the fog and is saved by a mysterious ghost plane. John played the ghost pilot who saves the young man. It was his way of saying thank you for his own survival. When he is not in the air, John likes to drive fast on the ground. His car collection is full of classics. He has a 1979 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow. He bought it right after he became famous for the movie Grease. It was his trophy. It has soft leather seats and wood on the dashboard. It reminds him of when he first became a star. He also loves Thunderbirds. He has a 1958 Ford Thunderbird painted in blue. It looks like the cars from the 1950s diners, but there is a sad story in his garage too. John used to have a beautiful 1970 Mercedes 280 SL. It was a convertible with a roof that looked like a pagoda temple. In 2011, he parked it on a street in Santa Monica to visit a Jaguar dealer. He was only gone for a few minutes. When he came back, the car was gone. Thieves had stolen it. The police eventually caught the bad guys, but it was too late. They had chopped the car into pieces to sell the parts. John never got his beautiful car back in one piece. In the last couple of years, John has been selling off his other houses. He is simplifying his life. For 30 years, he had a huge mansion in Maine. It was on an island called Islesboro. The house was enormous. It had 20 bedrooms. It looked like a spooky English manor, but inside it was bright and colorful. John and Kelly bought it in 1991 because their friend Kirstie Alley lived nearby. John tried to sell it for a long time. He listed it in 2021, but nobody bought it. He took it off the market. He listed it again. Finally, in May 2025, he got a deal. The house sold for $7.5 million. That was a record price for the island. It was the end of an era. No more summers in Maine. He also sold his house in Clearwater, Florida. That house was near the headquarters of the Church of Scientology. He sold it for $4 million in 2021, but he fought hard to keep his home in Jumbolair safe. In 2024, a developer wanted to build hundreds of new houses and shops right next to the runway. John was not happy. He wrote a strong letter to the county. He said it would be dangerous to have so many people near heavy jets. He also wanted to keep the area quiet and rural. John won. The developer withdrew the plans.